Quite some time in the past, NASA passed the Interest Wanderer on to Mars, and afterward, a long time back, they sent another meanderer, Diligence, to join the mission. These wanderers were shipped off map the planet and study its surface. What's more, presently, they have at last sent back some exceptional film that is absolutely staggering. Thus, what precisely are we seeing here, and what else have these wanderers been doing since they landed on the Red Planet? The principal Mars investigation. Our advantage in Mars, or what we like to call the Red Planet, has been around for quite a while. However, it was only after the space age that we could move a nearer look. The primary effective mission to Mars was Sailor 4, which was sent off by NASA in 1964. This was a flyby mission, and it sent back the primary close-up photos of Mars. This is the point at which we originally understood that Mars has a cratered, moon-like surface. It was a significant achievement that lighted our crave more data about our adjoining planet. In the years that followed, a few different missions were sent off. The Viking missions during the 1970s were particularly notable. Viking 1 and Viking 2 both arrived on Mars and directed analyses to look for indications of something going on under the surface. In spite of the fact that they didn't find convincing evidence of life, they gave an abundance of information about Mars' dirt, environment, and environment patterns. The dazzling disclosure. Mars investigation has progressed significantly since those early missions. Every mission based on the triumphs and examples of the ones preceding it. The 1990s saw the Mars Pathfinder mission, which conveyed the Sojourner Wanderer. This was a little six-wheeled meanderer that could move around and look at rocks and soil. It was an enormous step in the right direction, showing that in addition to the fact that we land on Mars, yet we could likewise move around and investigate its surface. The 2000s brought considerably more aggressive missions. The Mars Worldwide Assessor circled the planet and planned its surface exhaustively. The Mars Odyssey mission, sent off in 2001, found a lot of hydrogen just underneath the Martian surface. This was an unprecedented disclosure as it demonstrated the presence of water ice. All these disclosures indicated the chance of life on Mars, either past or present, and positively proposed that people could one day live there. However, why is concentrating on Mars so significant? For what reason don't we go to Venus or Mercury? All things considered, as far as one might be concerned, Mars is the most Earth-like planet in our nearby planet group. It has seasons, polar ice covers, and atmospheric conditions. Understanding Mars can assist us with studying our own planet's set of experiences and future. Besides that, Mars can possibly be a future home for mankind. As Earth faces difficulties like environmental change and overpopulation, Mars could give us an expected second home. Yet, before we can ponder colonizing Mars, we want to comprehend it better. That is where these missions come in. NASA's Meanderer missions have been at the front of Mars investigation. These wanderers resemble automated researchers outfitted with instruments to concentrate on the Martian surface and environment in detail. The program started with the Sojourner Meanderer, which was important for the Mars Pathfinder mission. It was trailed by the twin wanderers, Soul and Opportunity, which arrived on Mars in 2004. These wanderers were intended to most recent 90 days, however, wound up investigating for a really long time. Soul investigated the Gues of Hole, while Opportunity made mind-blowing disclosures in the Meridiani Planum district, including proof of past water activity, divulging the abnormal idiosyncrasies. With these triumphs, NASA chose to construct its best wanderers of all time. They plan to push the limits of what we are familiar Mars and look for replies to new inquiries. Thus, what new meanderers did they make after Soul and Opportunity? The Interest Wanderer. The primary state-of-the-art wanderer shipped off Mars by NASA was Interest. On November 26, 2011, NASA sent off the Interest Wanderer as a component of the Mars Science Research Center mission. Following a 9-month venture, Interest arrived on Mars on August 6, 2012. The arrival site was Hurricane Hole, picked on the grounds that researchers accepted it could have once had water and potentially life. The drop and landing were so tense and nerve-wracking that it's presently called the 7 Minutes of Dread. It included an intricate grouping of occasions, including a sky crane move, which had never been endeavored. Regardless of the dangers, the arrival was a triumph, and Interest sent back its most memorable pictures from the Martian surface. This obvious the start of another period in Mars exploration. Curiosity is furnished with different contraptions to support its investigation. It's about the size of a vehicle, estimating 10 feet in length, 9 feet wide, and 7 feet tall, and weighs almost 2,000 pounds. One of its astonishing elements is the ChemCam. This gadget utilizes a laser to destroy shakes and soil, transforming them into gas so it can concentrate on their structure. You can likewise consider it a laser weapon that can examine what lies under the surface for things from a distance. Another incredible instrument is the Example Investigation at Mars, SAM. This is a little lab that can look at the substance creation of tests, including checking for natural mixtures, which are critical for deciding if there was ever life on Mars. Curiosity is controlled by an exceptional power source called a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, RTG. This power source changes over heat from the rod of plutonium-238 into power, permitting INTEREST to continue to go consistently through all seasons without running out of power. Making this multitude of apparatuses for INTEREST was no modest endeavor. The whole Mars Science Research Facility mission, including INTEREST, cost about $2.5 billion. That is a large chunk of change. Yet the mission has given us lots of astounding information about Mars, making it worth each penny. But for what reason did they name it INTEREST? Indeed, naming a meanderer is no joking matter for NASA, and they love to get kids included. For INTEREST, they held an exposition challenge for understudies all around the US in 2009. The children needed to think of a name and make sense of why they picked it. 6th grader from Kansas named Clara Mama won the challenge. She proposed the name INTEREST. In her article, Clara wrote, "Curiosity is a never-ending fire that consumes in everybody. It causes me to get up in the first part of the day and can't help thinking about what shocks life will toss at me that day. INTEREST is a strong power. Without it, we wouldn't be who we are today. INTEREST is the energy that drives us through our regular day-to-day existences. We have become adventurers and researchers with our need to seek clarification on pressing issues and to wonder." NASA cherished how she encapsulated investigation, so they picked her name for the meanderer. It's an incredible method for reminding everybody that investigation and revelation are for all of us. Examining the disclosures. Anyway, with all that cash and cutting-edge gear, what has INTEREST tracked down on Mars? The revelations made by INTEREST's main goal on Mars have been totally astounding. It has caused a progression of revelations that to have worked on how we might interpret the red planet. Did you realize INTEREST recognized natural builds on Mars? INTEREST took some stone examples from Hurricane Cavity and found that these stones contained natural accumulates. These natural particles, which contain carbon, might actually be utilized as building blocks and nourishment forever. However, for what reason was this disclosure so critical? Indeed, the presence of natural mixtures on Mars lets us know that the planet might have once upheld life, regardless of whether it never really did. Scientists found that the isotopes in carbon dioxide and methane could be predictable with old organic movement, yet they could likewise result from non-life processes, similar to cooperations among daylight and carbon dioxide in Mars climate. This revelation prods progressing and future examinations, with INTEREST as well as with different missions looking for indications of something going on under the surface past Earth. Curiosity additionally identified changes in how much methane in the close surface air of Mars. On the planet, most methane in the environment comes from organic cycles. However, we couldn't say whether that is the situation on Mars. While INTEREST can't let us know if the methane it found is from organic sources, it furnished us with some proof that some natural cycle may be happening on Mars. Suggestions for science. Other than this, INTEREST's central goal was to decide both the development and openness age of a stone on Mars. The stones around Storm Pit conformed to 3.5 quite a while back and were subsequently moved to Yellowknife Sound, where they became sedimentary rocks around quite a while back. Enduring and injury presented these stones to surface radiation. This data assists researchers with understanding Mars disintegration rates and consider what radiation could mean for natural mixtures in the stones, which could impact the ID of potential biosignatures. Curiosity likewise gave us bits of knowledge into Mars' watery past. Water is fundamental forever, and the stones in Hurricane Pit show a rich history of water. For instance, INTEREST found gypsum veins here, a mineral that mains structures in watery circumstances. This shows that there was water on Mars. Dating test found a gypsum vein that was a lot more youthful than anticipated, recommending that fluid water might have stayed underneath the surface even as the planet was drying out. This could imply that Mars had tenable circumstances for a more extended period than beforehand thought. Besides this, INTEREST has shown us how Mars lost its air and transformed from a warm, wet planet to the chilly, dry one we see today. By estimating the proportion of deuterium to hydrogen in water tests, interest gave proof of hydrogen break and water misfortune after some time. This assisted researchers with understanding